Thank God, I thought I'd never lose them. I just hope they don't find their way here. That is the last time I am ever going dimension hopping again. At least I can just chill out here and won't have to worry about any more of them attacking me. Any more of those dimensional dragons.
Run! Get away from the light!
Yes! Take the siphon! Give me its power!
Welcome home, Neil. Oh, hey, Charlie. What in the world happened to you? You look different. Did something happen to you? Yeah, something did happen, but, I'd rather not talk about it. It's really complicated. Who's that knocking at the door? Hold on, I'll get it for you. If it's one of those dragons, I swear to God. Where the heck did I keep that blaster? Reader?
Yo, Neos, my man. It's been a long time. How are you doing, dude? I need your help.
Wait, why? What's going on? Is everything okay? What's happening, Reader?
Well, you see,
There you are, Reader. So not only do you run away from me, but you also reject my request? Oh, now you're dead, boy.
Oh no. Neos, do you remember that documentary we did on Kudajira and his history?
Yeah, I still remember making that video with you about him. Why? Does Kudajira have a problem with it?
Oh no, I have nothing else to say about this absolute gem of a video. Seriously, I really enjoyed that video that you guys made. But that's not the reason I'm here. How about you tell him, Reader?
Well, you see, Neos, since the 4th episode of Kenshin Chaos is out, and there has been some new information regarding the future of the series, Kudajira basically wants us to do a part 2 of the documentary. And we don't really have any choice, otherwise Kudajira will most likely kill us. Starting with me, especially.
Would you excuse us for a moment? Me and Neo need to have a little chat. Neo, I do not like the sound of this at all. This is not good. Not good at all. This is a disaster. I know, Charlie, but look, we'll make it through this. How? Do you know what kind of threat we're messing with right now? Do you know what we're dealing with? I'm aware. Listen, do you know what we're dealing with right now? This is the same kind of monster who literally soloed against Godzilla and Mechagodzilla. Not to mention, he took out 2 Mechagodzillas. He also fought Destroyer, Biollante. Heck, even Gigan in an alternate version of himself, he beat it. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with that monster. He is insane. He is a barbarian, a savage. I bet you he's part of that what was it called again? Black Air Force Synergy Council, is that what they're called? Yes, I'm convinced he's one of them. Okay, chill out, Charlie. Just look. We'll make it through this. We'll make it through this, I promise. Just calm down. Let's head into the studio, and then we'll make a compromise with Reader. Alright, Reader. Me and Charlie will help you out with this.
Oh, goody! Let's do this then! Roll the intro!
everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host NeosGamer04, and today we're going to be revisiting a previous topic that we once touched upon on the channel about several months ago. And if you couldn't tell by the intro, we're going to be revisiting the history of Kudajira, Kenshin Studios' Ultimate Kaiju. And you might be wondering, how come? Well, there's been some updates about not just Kudajira and the history of the Kenshin Chaos series, or at least the future of it, but also of Kenshin Studios as well. However, I won't be doing this alone because my friend Godzilla Reader has actually returned for this video. Say hello.
Hello everybody! I'm the Godzilla Reader, and it's a pleasure being back with my good friend NeosGamer. So, like he just said, we're going to continue the history of Kudajira, especially since there has been some new stuff that has been out regarding the character, and also because if we don't do it, he's going to kill us. Yeah, let's just get this over with. So, before we begin this, we want to clarify a little mistake that we made in the first video. During the section where we were giving a small biography of Kudajira, we mentioned that the creators of Kudajira were Chris Keepers and Nico Monar. However, the picture that we used to represent Nico wasn't really him. And when it comes to Nico himself, when he saw that, well, yeah, this was basically his reaction in a nutshell. Anyways, this is Nico Mona right there, right next to Chris, the guy making that face. Don't forget it. Don't forget his face. Okay, let's just go. Let's just move on with the video.
As we begin episode 4 of Kenshin Chaos, we can see an aircraft plummeting into the Arctic. And as the aircraft plummets to the ground, it can be seen firing its cannons right towards something behind it. And at first you would be thinking, maybe this is just an enemy aircraft that it's attacking. However, that's not the case at all. As a matter of fact, it was a monster, that being Gigan. The crew on the ship would have proceeded to fire a laser beam right towards Gigan to try to get him to stay away. However, Gigan would have overpowered them, causing the ship to crash into the ice and being buried under it. And before Gigan got the chance to celebrate his victory, suddenly, a crimson portal would have started to appear right behind him, revealing a brand new opponent for him to face off against. And who would this new opponent be? Oh, it was none other than Kudajira himself. This would have led into the two monsters rushing towards each other, starting off their grand battle. And Gigan trying to overpower Kudajira by crash landing on him. However, Kudajira was having none of that, and released a massive electric shockwave towards Gigan, causing him to fly across the area and crashing into ice. Kudajira proceeded to fire his electricity right towards Gigan, leading to the two monsters having a beam struggle between each other. However, Kudajira would have overpowered Gigan, using both his own lasers and his electricity to overpower Gigan's beam.
And after shooting Gigan down, Kudajira proceeds to launch himself in the sky, using his thunder hands, literally flying in the sky. Both him and Gigan have an air battle, which leads to them crashing down on the ground, leaving a smoke. When that smoke clears, Gigan finds himself on the ground, pinned down by the hybrid. The cyborg uses his last resort and slashes the right eye of Kudajira. Big mistake right there, since it only pisses him off and then leads to his death. And then, as it is revealed, Kudajira can indeed heal himself. After healing his right eye, the portal appears behind him and he disappears once again. God damn. This was certainly an intense battle, but in the end, the cyborg wasn't enough for the hybrid.
Any better this morning? Any change?
Change? Yeah, big change.
Now, after watching episode 4, I noticed something that seemed to be a pretty big change to the series, and that is actually the animation. The animation quality for episode 4 is a lot better than episodes 1 through 3. Not saying that there's anything wrong with the animation of episodes 1 through 3, but episode 4's is just phenomenal. It's actually kind of crazy when comparing the animation between the two, because the animation for episode 4, when comparing it to the previous 3 episodes, and even Wrath of the Hybrid, Kudajira's first appearance, it's like night and day. It's actually kind of crazy looking at how different the animation between them are. And I actually really like it. Like, the animation for episode 4 seems really cinematic. Like, the cinematography and just the animation in general for that whole episode, the way that entire episode looks, literally looks like it could be a movie, or at least a mini movie. If Kenshin Studios was ever to make another movie, like another movie focused around Kudajira, like, let's say after episode 10 of Kenshin Chaos, whenever they get around to the finale, after that, if they don't decide to do a season 2, or if they do decide to, but they make like a movie first to coincide with that, and the animation is something like episode 4, then yeah, I'd be in. I'd love that. Like, I think the animation for this is definitely top tier. But then that also begs the question, how did we get here with the animation turning out like this? Like, how did we go from episodes 1 through 3 to how the animation is for this episode?
Well, it's quite simple to know why the animation here is so different when compared to the one that has been used throughout the 3 episodes. That's because the person who animated the 4th episode was none other than my fellow Kaiju himself. A very talented animator who has been mostly known for his Godzilla animations on YouTube. And I do have to agree with you, the animation is very, very good. It really gives off a movie vibe when looking at it, and it really fits with the tone as well, considering that it's a very intense battle between Kudajira and Gigan. However, the animation isn't the only thing that is different here. Kudajira is also different. Now, you may not understand what I'm talking about, but what I'm basically saying is that, well, remember the chest mouth that Kudajira has? Yeah, well, it's now gone.
What?
Like, completely gone. If you watch the episode, you can totally notice that Kudajira's chest mouth is basically no longer visible. According to Chris, Mefalo had a hard time trying to put the chest mouth on Kudajira that he basically ended up removing it. And looking at it, well, I guess when it's night, Kudajira doesn't look half bad without his chest mouth. But when you look at it at a different time, like let's say broad daylight, in a different image, like this image that we're showing you right now, which is basically a future episode of Kenshin Chaos, where you see that Kudajira will basically have no chest mouth, and here when you can look at it at broad daylight, he looks odd without it. And I guess it has to do with the fact that we're so used with the chest mouth that we don't mind that it does nothing, but now that it's completely removed and replaced with a normal chest, it looks odd. I mean, not to sound rude, I mean, it was true that the chest mouth was kind of useless, but having it removed, again, makes it a little bit odd. Ironic that we criticize about that. Huh. What do you think, Nails?
Honestly, to me, it feels kind of weird seeing Kudajira without his chest mouth. And a part of me also kind of feels like us talking about in the previous video kind of jinxed this. Not really, but still kind of feels like after us saying that, next thing we know, by episode 4's release, it gets removed. And you know what? The fact that his design got changed, or at least got tweaked in that kind of way, where Meflo Kaiju actually had a hard time trying to animate Kudajira's chest mouth, so it just got removed entirely. This actually kind of reminds me of two things, actually. The first thing it reminds me of is actually and some people might not know about this, but originally Miraculous Ladybug was originally supposed to have an anime kind of art style. Like, it was originally supposed to be a 2D animated show and was going to be outsourced to a Japanese studio, or at least a Japanese studio was going to animate it, but everything else would have been done in France and of course been dubbed in English like it is now by Zagtoon. However, the reason why they actually decided to change it from being a 2D animated show to a 3D animated show like it is now is actually because of Ladybug's design in the original 2D animations. In the 2D animations, it was actually a little bit harder to design her spots on her suit. At least like when Ladybug is animated in motion. When Ladybug is moving in some of the scenes, you can notice that the spots on her suit actually disappear and aren't entirely consistent, unlike how it is for the show when it's 3D animated, where all the spots stay on the suit. But in the 2D animated version, it's completely... Some of them are removed and you can only see about a few of them while Ladybug is moving, but when she's still, you can see all the spots on the suit. And the other thing it reminds me of is sort of a different thing, but it's not really... The other thing it reminds me of isn't exactly removing something, but more or less adding something onto it. Like, it's kind of like the saying, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But in this case, someone chose to fix it anyway. But in them trying to fix it, it broke it. And what I'm talking about for this second thing is actually the design changes for the 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because the 2003 Turtles, after the first 5 seasons of the show, the art style actually changed by season 6 and 7, which were Fast Forward and Back to the Sewers. Now the reason, along with this, the tone actually changed. Not just the animation, but even the tone of how the show would go. Because the first 5 seasons of the show actually had a much darker tone. While seasons 6 and 7, along with the movie that would have served as the finale for the series, Turtles Forever, had a much more lighthearted tone when compared to seasons 1 through 5. And a part of the reason, there are a few reasons why the designs actually changed. The main reason for why the designs changed in season 7 is mostly because they wanted the Turtles and the rest of their cast to actually reflect the designs of the 2007 movie Turtles, which came out around the same time that Back to the Sewer would have released on CW for kids. And because of this is also why the Turtles also kind of look the way they do, where it's a more simplified version of their seasons 1 through 5 designs, but now they got pupils similar to the ones from the 2007 movie. And for me, in my personal opinion about the designs, I don't really like how they look in season 7. I mean, the designs are good. The only thing I would change is just to remove the pupils. And the reason why I say this is because it's kind of like how it is with the chest mouth for Kudajira, but in a different way. Because in the case for the chest mouth with Kudajira has had it for so long that it's kind of weird seeing him without it, even if it's only been Wrath of the Hybrid and just 3 episodes that we've seen it. But in the case for the Turtles, they look the way they did without those pupils at first since season 1 of the 2003 show, and then the pupils just came out of nowhere by the time season 7 would have happened. And the other reason for why the designs would have changed for them having the pupils and them looking more like the 2007 designs was mostly because they wanted to make it so that the turtles had more emotion, that they were able to express more emotions in the show. And at first, I would be okay with this if it wasn't for the fact that in the previous seasons and in Turtles Forever, the turtles still have the pure white eyes, like with no pupils at all. And they are able to express a lot of emotion through just that. Other than that, I'm kind of fine with the Kudajira redesign. Okay, now that I'm done with that little small rant and history lesson, we can now talk about our final thoughts. And for me, my final thoughts on episode 4 of Kenshin Chaos is that I really liked the episode. Definitely a 4 out of 5 or nearly a 5 out of 5 for me. A great episode and definitely the best episode out of the 3 that we have so far. In terms of animation, it's phenomenal. And it also gives off a cinematic vibe when looking at it.
For my final thoughts regarding this episode, I think this one was one of the more better ones. Of course, due to the amazing animation that was done by my fellow Kaiju, and of course because this episode felt a little bit more action-packed than the others. Although I do have a small little nitpick, and is that Gigan doesn't really use that much of his weapons. I mean, you have hook hands and a buzzsaw, and you don't even bother to use them. Like, come on, Gigan. Well, either way, this episode was still pretty great. Well, it seems that we have to get used to Kudajira without his chest mouth, because it looks like he's going to look this way in the future episodes. Well then. And that's all we have to say about the 4th episode of Kenshin Chaos. Now, time for the big guns. So, I guess recently enough, Kenshin Studios were quite in a dark place, to say the least, since they didn't have a lot of budget for their projects. So, what did they do? They made a Kickstarter. And their fans, including myself, all went out there to help them. And, well, you can see the results in the 2 videos that we're showing you right now. However, there is actually something very interesting. By going to the Kickstarter, you can actually see what they have planned for the future episodes of Kenshin Chaos. And what you're seeing right now are the future opponents of Kudajira, and that's what we're going to see right now. So, for the 5th episode of Kenshin Chaos, Kudajira will be faced against the King Ape himself, Kong. A very interesting choice, considering that King Kong is one of the most popular monsters in history, alongside Godzilla. And looking at the image, it seems to be the King Kong from the Monsterverse series, which is a very good choice, considering that Kong in that series was a total badass. So it will be interesting to see how the fight between these two will go on. And hey, seeing that Kong has an axe now, perhaps this will be the weapon to slay Kudajira.
For the next episode, Kudajira's next opponent is none other than the almighty Ultraman, or at least one of them. Judging by the silhouette, I'm pretty sure it's meant to be the original one, although some of them, at least in terms of their silhouettes, look similar to one another. I'd say Ultraman is a good choice to face off against Kudajira, and it would be interesting to see how a fight between those two would go down. Whether or not I could see him defeating Kudajira remains to be seen. Especially since this is the original one. The original one is powerful, but I don't entirely know how that might go down. But I definitely think it will be an interesting choice to see how that will go.
Next, for episode 7, we have the Guardian of the Universe, Gamera. Another interesting choice. Even though Gamera's series is somewhat dead, it's glad to see that people still use him and remember him despite being not so popular when compared to Godzilla. I'm actually very interested to see how this fight will go on. Although, will the Guardian be enough to at least make Kudajira bleed even more? Okay, that was a bit exaggerated, but seriously, who will bleed the more? Gamera or Kudajira?
Next up is the one and only king of the monsters himself, Godzilla. Judging by the silhouette, I assume the version of Godzilla this might be could be the same Godzilla from Wrath of the Hybrid. At least I think so. I think it's probably the same one, at least by how the silhouette looks. Meaning this would kind of be like a rematch for Kudajira and Godzilla, although technically Godzilla facing off against Kudajira this time, this Kudajira is a lot different from the one they fought before. They may share some of the same abilities, but this one has already proven to be much more stronger and much more of a threat than the one that he fought back then. Especially with we haven't even seen the full potential of this Kudajira's abilities, and Godzilla has not even met this one yet. And that begs the question, can Godzilla actually beat Kudajira again? Because he defeated him before, but this Kudajira that he's going to be fighting now is on a whole different level.
For episode 9, we have... Bagan. How interesting. It's almost like they read my mind. Okay, I'm being serious right now. Honestly, I found this kind of hilarious because I remember asking them in their very first community meeting. I asked them what would happen if Kudajira and Bagan were to fight, and their answer were, "Oh well, Kudajira was just simply destroy him." But here, it seems that Kudajira is actually going to fight Bagan. Now this is going to be a very epic battle. This will certainly be a battle of gods. And who knows, maybe Bagan is actually more stronger than Kudajira.
And for our final opponent for Kudajira to face off against during the course of the Kenshin Chaos series, we have... Oh hey, that kind of looks like Space Godzilla. Wait. Oh, hold up guys, I'll get back to the... Just give me a minute, someone's calling me on the phone. Hello? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Wait, that isn't Space Godzilla? But that's the way it kind of looks like him. Huh? Really? Who is it then? If it isn't him, who is it? Oh! Okay. 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 Let me make a correction then. All right. Bye. Thanks for that. Thanks for the help. Oh, okay. So it's come to my attention that this isn't Space Godzilla, even though it would be nice for Kudajira to face off against him, since part of his design originally was inspired by him. But it is actually a different Godzilla that actually kind of looks like him, but at least silhouette-wise. But it's actually Super Godzilla. And for any of you who might not know who Super Godzilla is, heck, I ain't even know too much about him before then until I looked him up. Super Godzilla is another version of Godzilla from a video game of the same name, which is also the same game that Bagon had originally first appeared in. That's the game that he made his first appearance in, and he was the main antagonist of that game and the final boss. Godzilla would face off against him and would have transformed into Super Godzilla in the game. Now, considering how his battle against Bagan would have gone in the game, it does make me curious of how a fight between the two would go during Kenshin Chaos when it comes to Super Godzilla against Kudajira. It would be awesome to see how that fight goes. I do hope we do get to see Space Godzilla fight against him eventually, though. But Super Godzilla is still good. He'll still be a good one. Now, as for my final thoughts, I would say this is definitely a pretty good lineup for rivals for Kudajira to face off against during the series. I don't entirely know how I could see this going for Gamera. a part of me is rooting for Gamera to win, but another part of me is saying, but as for what I think about for who could actually win, or at least who might have a fair chance against Kudajira, that remains to be seen. Kong, I'm not entirely sure, considering how things went for him in Godzilla vs. Kong. Ultraman, I could see him probably having a good chance, but I'm not entirely sure he would win that fight. Bagon, well, of course, Bagon's is a god, so there's a good chance. And Kudajira is practically a god. In fact, he's literally been referred to as the god of destruction, so it's kind of a 50-50 chance for how I see it between them here. Super Godzilla, for me, it's kind of the same thing on that part. As for Gamera, that poor turtle's gonna get his butt kicked. I'm sorry, Gamera.
As for my final thoughts, well, do I need to say it? This is honestly very exciting, and I'm very thrilled to know how this will go down. As for my thoughts about whether the characters will be enough to beat Kudajira, well, let's see. Kong, despite being very strong, I don't think he'll be able to win, especially with that axe. Ultraman, possibly, but maybe not entirely. Gamera? Ooh, I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but I don't think Gamera will win. Why? Well, seeing that this is the Eisei Gamera, and after rewatching the Eisei trilogy, Gamera has the worst durability.
Say what now?
He has the worst durability, like, ever. This guy gets taken down by missiles and can even get hurt by his own attacks. Like, I think it was in the third movie where he blew his own hand with his fireball. So honestly, I don't know how he can survive a battle against Kudajira. Godzilla? It's a bit debatable. I mean, it's unknown whether this Godzilla is the one from the Kenshin trilogy, but if that's the case, or maybe it's just like normal Eisei Godzilla, debatable, but I don't think he will have a chance. Bagan? Ooh, no, like I said, this is going to be turned into a battle of gods. So honestly, I'm not sure. Maybe, but don't know. Super Godzilla? Ooh, another hard one. I mean, maybe? I mean, if a Super Godzilla was able to defeat the old Kudajira, then I don't see how this one won't be able to defeat the new Kudajira. Now, before we wrap this out, we have just one more thing to talk about. And that is the possibilities of a Season 2 for Kenshin Chaos. Now, Chris and the others have stated that they weren't really planning to do that for the moment. Well, they weren't really focused on doing a Season 2 since right now their priority is to finish Season 1. Which is understandable. However, they did talk about the thought of making a Season 2. And of course, I'm not saying that they should, nor am I forcing them. But just imagine if after finishing Season 1, they actually went with the Season 2. Honestly, there's a lot of possibilities with opponents for Kudajira to face off. Hey Neos, is there any particular kaiju or monster that you want Kudajira to face off?
Well, there are a few that I think I would like to see. I would actually like to see King Ghidorah show up eventually, if there is going to be a Season 2 of Kenshin Chaos. And maybe even Mothra too. I would like to see how that would go if either Ghidorah or Mothra would be facing off against Kudajira. And a part of me also wants to say that I would like to see Anguirus appear, but at the same time, I'm not going to say that. And the main reason why is because I feel like that there is no way that Anguirus is going to beat Kudajira. It would be nice to see him try, but... And then these last few is a bit of cheating, but I would say maybe Way Big from Ben 10. Even though Ben Tennyson is a human, but I'm strictly just talking about Way Big. And then maybe something like either Omnimon or Gallantmon from Digimon. Even though technically these two are fusions of other monsters, but again, I think it would be nice to see someone like them. And maybe Slifer the Sky Dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh! But I doubt we'll see that. And the last one would be Shin Godzilla. I have been, like, for a little while, I've actually been wondering how that would go down. Like, if Shin Godzilla was ever to face off against Kudajira. And you already heard me say that I would want to see Space Godzilla. Especially since Space Godzilla was one of the monsters that led to the creation of Kudajira. Only natural that we see a battle between them. I mean, we already saw Kudajira face off against Godzilla, and he's about to again. Why not Space Godzilla eventually?
Nice choices indeed. And as for me, well, that's a hard one. In terms of the Godzilla franchise, honestly, I think Space Godzilla and Monster X alongside Kaiser Ghidorah is enough. And I guess from the Ultraman and Gamera series, well, for Gamera, it would be interesting to see Kudajira face off against the Mother Legion and Iris. And Ultraman, oof, well, there's a lot of kaiju in Ultraman, so it's hard to pick. And besides, I don't think all of the kaijus of the Ultraman series have a model to animate. But so far right now, if I were going to choose one, I'll go with Gomora. However, there is one thing that they did mention that is very exciting. If they were to make a possible season 2, they would have Kudajira face against people's original kaiju. And I know exactly who I will use to face off against Kudajira. Now, will it be possible? Most likely not. But who knows? Maybe it will. Again, I'm not forcing.
And I believe that should be all regarding Kenshin Studios and Kudajira, at least for now.
Yep. Oh, and look at that. It seems that Kudajira has left us alone. Our souls are spared. Probably not my soul. Welp, I'm the Godzilla Reader, and it was a pleasure being here. Bye-bye!
Careful there, reader. We don't want you to get turned to dust. Or get turned into a kaiju barbecue.
Yeah, I know! That's why I'm running for my life! Oh, and also, I'll keep you in track when I'm writing the next chapter of Ruby Resurgence!
Yeah, so, that happened. Okay, I'm not sure how to end this, but, this is Neos Gamer signing off, and right now I need to go save Reader before he gets burned by a giant hybrid of multiple kaijus. See you guys later!
Hey, it's us again. Okay, so a lot of you guys must be confused by why are we still talking when it's the end of the video. Well, let's just say that something just came out. It's an update. And you must be wondering what this update is about? Well, we're just going to show you the image. Yep, this is the update. I honestly did not see this one coming. And looking at the image, you can see what it is about. It's the next episode of Kenshin Chaos, where Kudajira will be facing against Ultraman. Now, you must be wondering, wait, What? Kudajira is facing against Ultraman in episode 5 and not episode 6? What happened to Kong? Well, let's just say that Chris left a little message. Basically, talking about why that's the case. Here's the message. If you want, you can pause the video and read that entirely. And on top of that, the episode will come out Saturday. Well, that depends if the video is posted days after Saturday, so it's already out there.
And then the episode came out Saturday. So this episode is now late. This is future Neos talking. Alright, bye.
Honestly, once again, I did not see this one coming. And quite frankly, I am very excited to see this battle. What about you, Neos?
Honestly, same. I didn't expect for Kudajira vs. Ultraman to happen so early, especially as episode 5. But I'm definitely excited for it, I'll tell you that.
So that means that you guys are going to make a part 3, right?
Now wait just a second, we didn't say anything about there being a part 3? Did we?
No, Kudajira, we're not going to make a part 3. Even if this video comes out after the release of the episode, we are not going to make a part 3!
Oh, so you both want to die then? Alright then, I'm gonna make sure to turn you both into dust!
Oh, no, Kudajira, please don't do it! Neos, rah!